When someone tells you there's no limit to what you can do, that opens up so many doors. It makes you feel like you are capable of doing anything and everything you can set your mind to.
Welcome to the Ask You Telling Our Story podcast. I am your host, Leticia Maldonado, a proud member of the post-secondary value team at the American Association of State Colleges and Universities. In this series, we share stories from state colleges and universities that have taken bold steps to successfully serve underrepresented students and their communities. As we speak with the experts who shape these programs, we will get an inside look on how they are fostering greater accessibility and affordability, closing completion gaps, and creating a more just and equitable society. Welcome to another episode of Telling Our Story, everyone. I am so excited about today's episode because we are going to talk about a program that I have personally known about for a long time and have admired for so many years. It is a program that's making a huge impact in the field of computer science, especially in opening doors for first-generation college students in the Salinas Valley of California and throughout the state. It's called CS in3, short for Computer Science in 3. And the unique thing about it is that it's an accelerated program that helps students earn their bachelor's degree in computer science in just 3 years. But most importantly, because of how the program was designed, it's become a standout model for building a pathway for socioeconomic mobility into high-paying careers in technology. So I'm thrilled for our listeners to hear more about this program, which I personally think is hitting the mark in so many important ways. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our wonderful guest, Dr. Vanya Quiñones, president of California State University, Monterey Bay, which is known as CSUMB, Dr. Sathya Narayanan, computer science professor and co-founding faculty member of the CS3 program, Leslie Maxwell, Associate Director of CSN3, also known today as the Computer Talent Initiative, and 2 CSUMB graduates and graduates of the CSN3 program, Noe Lomeli, who's currently Chief Technology Officer at Nurbli, and Benito Sanchez, who is CEO of Nurbli. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to Telling Our Story.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Letty, and you can call me Sathya.
Super excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, Letty.
Absolutely. The honor is all mine. So, President Quiñones, I'm going to start with you. And I always love to start with setting the context. For people who are not familiar with CSUMB, tell us about your institution.
Feel free to refer to me as Vanya. Thank you. So Cal State Monterey Bay is located in one of the most beautiful places in the world. We're very lucky on where we are. We go all the way from Pebble Beach to the beautiful farms next to us. The county is called the salad bowl of the world because we produce most of the lettuce, spinach, and we produce a lot of the things, greenery that you're supposed to eat and your mom told you to eat. So they're produced here. So we're very proud of where we are, but we're more proud of our mission. The university is fairly new, and it is based on an old Army base. And so we have a lot of history on the peninsula, but we are also moving that history really, really fast because we're very proud to be the engine for the economic region, the development, the workforce development. And so the university is very in tune with the needs of our partners on the community, including the farm, the hospitality, the health, and other divisions on the economy of this region. And we have about 7,000 students right now. We are a Hispanic serving institution. The majority of our students are Hispanic or also first generation. So we are, if you ask me in a sentence who we are a mid-size residential institution that is based on a system that is California State University. There's 23 campuses. We're one of them. But the uniqueness of us is that we move our students forward. We're number one on upper mobility, which means that the commitment that we have is to ensure that the students that come here are successful. What we're trying to do is to ensure that the university is in tune with the needs of the region in terms of workforce development, but also in tune with the needs of our students to ensure that they're successful and that their basic needs, their housing, and other issues are taken care of so they can succeed and move forward their family.
Wow, thank you, Vanya, for providing that context. Leslie and Sathya, what is the CSN3 program and how did it start?
Thanks for that question, Leti. The CSN3 program in CSN3 stands for students earn their bachelor's degree in computer science in 3 years. And another thing that's unique about this program is it's from the beginning kind of conceived, designed, and implemented as a partnership between two institutions, Hartnell College and Cal State University, Monterey Bay. And the way the program was designed, it was designed as a cohort-based program where the students come together as a cohort, take classes together, study together, work on projects together. And this cohort model is supported by the team kind of having a predefined set of courses. Like we have a pathway designed for them. We take care of scheduling the classes and we register students in the classes. So they don't have to think about what classes should I be taking, in what order, am I meeting the transfer requirements, am I meeting a graduation requirement. Those concerns are all taken off the student's plate and their focus is on their learning and growth. And the last thing I would say that's really unique about this program is that the way we designed the program, from the beginning, we really committed to making sure that we find that balance between foundational academic preparation, but also preparing them for industry, right? Like making sure that they are developing the skills they need, workforce preparation, kind of work-based learning experiences, internship experience as part of their educational journey. And that, I think the results we saw in terms of both student engagement, retention, being able to do well in classes and graduate, like we had a higher graduation rate of students graduating in 3 years, but also internship placement and job placement rates were higher than what you would traditionally see. And that's because we kind of thought about all of these components and at least the 5 things that I mentioned that are unique and integrated in how we designed the program.
So you mentioned higher graduation rates and job placement rates. And if it's okay with you, I want to provide a little bit more perspective for our audience. And I am referring to an article that I have in front of me about CSN3, and this article was published in 2018. We can add this to the show notes, where it states that the graduation rates for computer science majors was 70% in the CSN3 program compared to 22% for majors in traditional computer science programs. And then more astonishing is the job placement of your initial graduates, which was 78% job placement within 2 months after graduation in big companies like Apple, Salesforce, and Uber. So, wow. I mean, really just wow. Now, secondly, I do have a follow-up question, and this is going back to the origins of the program. One thing that stood out to me as I was reading a separate article, and this one was published in 2020, and I also have this one in front of me. But one of the things that stood out to me was learning about the late Andy Matsui and the key role that he played in supporting CSN3 through philanthropy. Now, the article that I'm referring to right now describes Mr. Matsui as a local floral entrepreneur and Japanese immigrant, and someone who was very grateful to the workers of his nursery, but that he also felt that the opportunities of the workers and their families were limited and that they were not getting the opportunities that they deserved. So according to the article, his daughter, Teresa Matsui, she states, he saw educating the children of people who worked alongside him as a way to give back to the community. So my follow-up question to you, Sathya, is how did Mr. Matsui's vision influence your decision to design CSN3? And what was it that prompted you to think this should be a computer science program?
Mr. Matsui's vision for what he wanted to do was really inspiring for us. So the trigger for this, the kind of the impetus for this came from Mr. Matsui. Andy Matsui is my understanding of the Andy Matsui story is that like he's a orchid grower in Salinas Valley, and he in 2004, I believe, started a Matsui Foundation with a vision of helping kids of farm workers, farm workers that work for his company, being able to go to college and get a college degree so that they can kind of build a better life for them. And he's been giving scholarships to students starting in 2004, with students going to various colleges across the country. But in 2011, he wanted to, he had this idea, this vision of trying to create a accelerated degree program locally in a high demand field, that he wanted to invest his scholarship money to kind of support students to go through this program, so that we can have better return in terms of like the students being able to graduate on time and get internship and job opportunities through a program like that. And he brought that vision to the attention of then presidents of Hartnell and at CSUMB. And that was the trigger that kind of trickled down to me and Joe Welch, who was an instructor at Hartnell at the time. I refer to him as Joe. Students refer to him as Mr. Welch. And Joe and I got this this idea as something to think about and see if we can build something. And that's when we really saw this as a clearly aligned with the type of things that we wanted to do. Right, we were already working on some internship preparation program. Leslie was part of the team from then, trying to help students at local community colleges and at CSUMB to prepare for the industry, how to bridge the gap between the high talent demand that existed in Silicon Valley, and the potential talent that existed in Salinas Valley. But how could we be a bridge between the two was something that we were always passionate about, and we were working on that since 2009. And when this this vision Mr. Matsui had kind of came to us, we really saw that as like we were very aligned in terms of what we wanted to do, and like that kind of got us excited, and we jumped in and started putting a program design proposal together and presented it to the presidents of the two institutions, and then the rest is history. Yeah.
What a beautiful story. Thank you, Sathya. Benito and Noe, let me turn to you now. As graduates of this program and living proof of this vision that Sathya just described and what that vision was meant to achieve, take us back to when you first heard about CSN3. What is it that drew you into the program?
Yeah, I can start. Thank you, Leti. It all started when I was working at the TV station in Monterey. I was a master control operator at Fox 35, and at the beginning I was so excited about working there, being responsible for such a huge network. It's a national network. So to me, I was living the life for the first couple of months. But then I realized if I stayed there was no room for me to continue growing. I would be doing the same thing over and over and over. So I then started thinking, what can I do? How can I gain new skills? Um, I want to be more ambitious. So how can I make that happen? My only answer was education. You got to go back to school. You got to learn something new. So one day I was just thinking out loud, and one of my coworkers was sitting next to me, and I just told her out of nowhere. I told her, you know what? I think I want to go back to school. She dropped what she was doing immediately. She turned her chair around to face me, and she said, "You got to go into CS3. You got to check it out." And I said, "What's that?" Uh, so she basically told me it's a 3-year program. You have a scholarship, so it's they pay for everything. You get a bachelor's in computer science, and then she said, when she said, you have to meet Mr. Welch. He's a god. And when she said that, I immediately wanted to know, who's Mr. Welch? Who would who would talk about this person like that? Like, who says somebody is a god? So all these questions started popping up in my head, but they were good questions. Like, I want to meet him. I want to know more about CSN3. I want to know how I can be in it. She gave me all the answers. Like, she told me, you start in Hartnell College and then you transfer to CSUMB. They give you a scholarship for $30,000. Yeah, she gave me all the information. She gave me the email. She gave me the email to email Melvin. Melvin, by the way, was the main point of contact for me for the CSN3 program. So I had no excuse, right? I had everything that I needed. So all I had to do is email Melvin. I told him that I was interested in learning more about the program, and I was interested in joining. What did I need to do to be part of it? So sure enough, like, I emailed him. A couple days later, he replied, and he told me that cohort 3 is already full, but we have a wait list. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to join us every Saturday. Start refreshing your math, refreshing your English, all the requirements that you need to be able to join the program. So eventually, I don't remember if it was a month or a few weeks, a few spots opened up. So they started interviewing potential candidates. Mm-hmm. And I showed up on time every Saturday. I stayed there until the last minute. I was always working. I was focused. They took notice. So by the time Mr. Welch interviewed me, he knew that I was serious and I wanted to be part of the main cohort. So when I got accepted, I said, yeah, like, I was so excited. It was one of the best news. So yeah, sure enough, that's how I started, and I never looked back.
Thank you. Benito, I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah. The first time I heard about CSN3 program was at my high school, and Melvin grabbed my attention from day one. He started talking about all the things that you could do with computer science, and there were many options. Most majors you graduate with a degree, and you have one focus, right? One area. Computer science was different. You could do drones, you could build websites, you could servers. Like, there were so many options for it, and so many fields, right? Like, you could work in a hospital and build technology for hospitals. So technology was everywhere. He went on to talk about firefighters needing solutions. He talked about technologies in cars, and patients, right? Like, so it was everywhere. And if you graduated with this major, you had so many options to choose from. So that was, the first step. I feel like the hardest thing to do is grab my attention, and Melvin did a fantastic job there. Um, but it wasn't. I feel like the battle wasn't over. As a first generation student, there's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of what ifs that goes through your brain. And I showed up in the first Saturday math intensive, and it was a no for me. I was just like, nope, I don't. I just didn't see myself there. So I didn't show up to the second one. And Melbourne sent someone to go after me at the high school. Every teacher was like, someone's looking for you. And I was like, who's this person, right? And I met this person, and we had lunch, and they were talking to me about the season three, and it was someone that I could connect to. It was someone with the same background, the same, um, first generation immigrants, local. So it felt better, right, to connect to someone like that. And I showed up on the following Saturday math intensive, and I saw more familiar faces, more people that shared the same background, and the trust started. They gained the trust, right? And and I was I was a person that is really hard to convince, and I feel like the final straw that could really convince me was really listening to Mr. Walsh. He was a person that spoke a lot of like the the season three program. They told you things up front. It wasn't like they're not gonna sugarcoat it, right? We're gonna be doing a lot of long hours, a lot of stress, right? You're not getting vacation. This is gonna be a 3-year commitment. And I loved when they share like the whole 3-year plan, the roadmap. They share like what we're gonna be working on next summer. You need to be ready with your resumes by the second summer. You need to be applying. Like you saw what the 3-year looked like, and that was like really nice for me. Like I was very visual. They gained my trust, and Mr. Walsh talked a lot about grinding and growth mindset. But he went further on to show us, because as a first generation student, you can tell me a lot of things, but it doesn't stick, right? So, for example, my first semester, I was doing horrible. I was failing my CSS1 class, and that was the hardest semester for me. But when Mr. Waltz saw that, he grabbed like a 5 group of students, and he would stay with us until Alisal campus closed, and literally drill all the learning right in our brain. And he said, like, this is what you need to do going forward. This is what it's gonna look like. So there's a difference between telling us like you need to stay 3 or 4 hours after your class, and literally showing us, like, staying with us, and teaching us, right, like how it's done. After that, like, that's how my life looked like for every semester.
Thank you. As I hear you describe your experiences, so much of it resonates with me, and it sounds very familiar. As a fellow first generation college student, I could definitely relate to how much it means to have staff and faculty who care so deeply and genuinely about your specific learning needs. I remember when I experienced that, just really how much it meant to me, and what a difference it made. Now, my next question is, as alumni, are there other factors that you think really made a difference for you in the program?
It's gonna be the community. Having the cohort was really helpful. Sometimes professors speak a whole other language. Their vocabularies are just too high. When you're new to something, and your classmates understand it in your language, so a lot of meeting with other classmates, and they will reteach like for loop, right? Or reteach like a topic, but in simpler terms. And there was a lot of whiteboarding. There was a lot of like, draw me something to help me understand it. So A lot of that cohort was super helpful. We also had the program also provided tutors, especially in our first couple of semesters. I think that was super helpful. I got to meet students that had been studying computer science on their own, and they were like had a whole different idea, right? Different way of teaching and sharing resources. So it was like a whole community, and the program also, um, for example, one of our the students that mentored us was the one that introduced me to an operating system, and you know, not to go in detail about the operating system, but something that would happen a lot was crashing. Systems crash on your computers, and what that taught me was like resolving things under stress. You know that a homework assignment is due and things break. It taught me that it's normal. It's normal for things to break. It's okay. It's how you respond to that pressure that makes a difference. And
Mm.
um, and things like that, like learning from that, something like that, I learned from other CS computer science students outside of the program. But also learning with professors, right? Like building a mobile app, for example, end to end, even though it's not perfect, but hearing them, right? Like you need to be mindful that normal people don't do exactly what you expect them to do. So learning things like that, right? And then I feel like from our director to professors, cohort members, and the Matsui family, you know, listening to it was a whole community. Like everybody, we got to meet everyone. So Miss Matsui stepped in our classroom, and we got to speak with her. So learning from everybody, I feel like having that support, right? Knowing that we're not alone in this trip. Um, I feel like that was a difference maker. Knowing that you have a community to back you up.
It means a lot to students when they have a role model, someone who leads by example. Um, it just makes that relationship so much better, so much meaningful. When someone tells you there's no limit to what you can do, that opens up so many doors. It makes you feel like you're capable of doing anything and everything you can set your mind to. Mr. Welch is the kind of faculty member that goes way and beyond above their work, their main responsibility. He would help us out on the weekends. He would help us out after school. He was always there during office hours. Even during lunch, he would come up and strike a conversation, and there was always something you could learn about him every single time. So he was just a wealth of information. And the best thing about it is that he was there ready to give it to you. All you have to do is just go up to him, and he was so amazing at making people believe in themselves. By the way, Mr. Welch, if you're listening, thank you so much for everything you taught me. And at the same time, at CSUMB, I had so many great professors, and they were always uh, so willing and so open um, to be there during office hours or anytime we saw them on the hallways. Uh, I can't stop saying how grateful I am to everyone, like all the teachers, all the staff, Leslie, Sathya, the internship program. They were able to bring uh, companies in the tech field to campus so that they would be helping us do mock interviews, even real interviews for internships. Uh, so many resources, endless resources that they brought to us. And I know that if I was even attempting to do this on my own, I would have failed. I would have never gotten this far. I'm so sure of that.
So where are you now professionally, and how do you think the CSN3 program set you up for success?
I'm currently the founder and CEO of Nurbli. Um, we launched Nurbli to make information accessible in multiple languages. But, this is an idea I had since back in my first couple of semesters at Hartnell. But I knew that I didn't have all the skills. I didn't know where to start. It's nice now to be on the other side of the table. I'm an indigenous person, so I'm really familiar with the language barrier that we face. And for example, our language is not written. So how do we make information accessible if you can't translate it written? Um, we came up with ideas from ground zero to make it happen and incorporate it in schools to make sure that parents get that information that they need. So all of this was possible because of the background as an indigenous person, but at the same time of the knowledge that CSUMB provided, and the CSN3 program for the computer science, right? Literally changing people's life, like impacting their life. And the CSUMB, I see CSUMB as like the incubator where like you're learning all the core concepts that you need.
So right now, I'm co-founder with Benito, Nurbli, and how it all comes back to the CSM3 program. One of the things about the CSM3 program that, as I mentioned, really impacted me is how much they focused on building local talent. I'm very grateful to the Matsui family and the foundation for providing us with the scholarship money, uh, because now that's allowing us to give back to the community. So, as a way to pay it forward, we have developed a mentorship program, and it focuses on working with local students. We provide them with real world experiences that we hope are going to set them up for success. It's very important for us to continue this legacy of building local talent. And my message to any student listening to this podcast is that no matter where you come from, through education and hard work, it's possible to do great things in your community.
That is right. I love hearing where you're at now because like I said, you're just living proof that access to education, in addition to being surrounded by people who believe in you and support you, it can really change the trajectory of someone's life. And I mean, that plus your own determination, because without a doubt, you too put in the work and you made a lot of sacrifices that really got you through the finish line. But what's even more inspiring is how the two of you are using your platform to keep that door open for others and to be of service to your community, which I love so much. Now, with that in mind, I want to ask all of you about the following. With higher education under scrutiny, with some people arguing in mainstream media that higher education does not prepare students for the job market, what role do you think that regional public universities like CSUMB, but specifically programs like CSN3 in particular, what role do they play in pushing back against that narrative?
The reason that we have lost the conversation with the community on the value of education is that we are not talking to them, we're talking down to them. And we're not joining them, we're pulling people. In a way, what I'm trying to say is that we have to know that students come to a university and families send students to our university for a better life, for their upper mobility, for the ability to graduate and in one generation move their family forward. And if in that time that they spend with us, they learn the love of language and they love Shakespeare and they like to write poems, great. But we have to talk what people want to hear. And, I think that that's what CSUMB, Cal State Monterey Bay is so special. We really put the future of our students first. So we have, I call it hand-on experience with a heart. So we actually do hand-on experience. All our students work in service learning that you hear before people talking about it, and then in internships, that's two different things. Service learning is working on the community as a volunteer, and they have to do 2 rounds if you're a native student or if you're a transfer 1 round. And they volunteer to the community, they learn what the community needs, they're embedded in there. Internships is working on companies and doing other things. They're not either or, but our students all graduate with that. And in a way, is to anchor their education on the reality of what is needed for the workforce and how important the community is. So I think about this all the time. People will get a job without an education. People will not move forward on life without an education. You will be in the same job forever. You could get an amazing job, but not everybody, but the majority of people will get stuck if they don't have the education. So we have to talk as a community, as an academic community, on the importance of workforce development, on yes, you come and you learn about social science and you learn a philosophy, and this is how you become a lawyer or this is how you move forward, and translate that to the community that we serve. Cal State Monterey Bay, the majority of the students, over 60%, are first generation. And so we have to open the doors to our students. And so in order to be successful in the future, we have to really start thinking about career development. For example, CSU, the whole system, is the first system that AI is accessible to all students. So every single student, staff, faculty have access to free AI. And we encourage all the faculty and staff to use AI. It's not a bad word. And the reason for it is that if we don't embrace the techniques that are outside, our students will not be available to get the jobs that they need. And so what we need to really do is to teach people how to use these techniques with ethical values. And I think Benito talked a little bit about it. What he learns in a university is a limited thing that will help you to propel in the future. And so what we have to learn to teach our students is how your curiosity, your critical thinking, your learning experience, the ability to move forward will allow you to have social mobility forward.
I love it. I think it's an important conversation, and I love that you're really honest about the limitations that we are seeing in higher education as well, right? Because I think it's really important to be really honest and transparent about our value, but also the opportunities to really reshape and reframe the message, and also how we do business in higher education, right?
I think for a long time, talking about workforce development, people say, oh, we're not a vocational school. For a long time, the workforce development associated with a degree was kind of like a no. You come here to be a thinker. You come here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you come here to a university to be a thinker. Yes, you come here to be a develop critical skills. Yes, you come here to make a foundation on language that is Excel. And yes, you come here to do all of this, but you also come here for workforce development. You also come here to move your family forward. You have to eat. You have to feed your kids. You have to take care of your family. And so I think that that's the key conversation, that is not either or. And for a long time it's been, this is what it is. And I think that's a bad rap on academia, that people say they have lost the value on education, but in reality we have lost the ability to communicate what is the value.
I would like to add to Vanya's comment. Um, I totally agree. And as she was speaking, like so many memories came back from my season 3 experience. From the moment I joined, my parents were not involved as much in my education growing up. And one of the things that season 3 did differently was invite my parents to the dinner. And when they were there, as a first generation, and you're sometimes like parents don't know how to be involved. They simply don't know. And I remember sessions where they literally told the parents how to be involved. For example, um, I remember my dad being excited, saying like, we're ready to fix your car whenever it breaks, right? We're ready to cook your meals and make sure you have lunch. We're ready to not disturb you during those weekends. So I feel like, CSUMB was the Season 3 program went further to involve parents because they knew that it would take a village to make this possible. From I mean, how do you? I mean, it's a lot to gain trust of first generation families, and I feel like CSUMB got it really well because from gaining the students' trust to gaining the parents' trust, partners, and faculty. I mean, there's so much that it took to make it possible. Um, but yeah, they were leading by example. They were speaking to us like, this is what we need from you, but at the same time, like, this is what we will do, right, for you. And it was something that I just wanted to share because it's what Vanya is sharing is what I saw at CSUMB, and I just wanted to share on that.
I also want to add to that. So you say CSUMB, somebody will say, okay, education, right? But to me, it's a lot more than that. The CSN3 program provided structure, discipline, networking. Sure, I could have gone in on YouTube, go online, look for resources, look for courses, how to teach myself, how to program. But I can guarantee you, I would have failed because going online is not going to provide me with the things that I just mentioned. So if I would have gone and tried to teach myself how to code or computer science fundamentals, there's no way I would have been able to do it without the support that I was provided by CSUMB and Hartnell College.
Sathya or Leslie?
Now, the question you asked about the value of higher education, that's obviously something we talk a lot about. We think a lot about. We are in the business of higher education, and if we are not being perceived as a valuable contribution to the society, like that kind of gets to our core. When we talk about it and when we think about it, like the thing that seems to me really is important or like kind of comes to forefront is if we are rigorous about identifying the problem in front of us and solving that problem, and you may not know how to solve it, you are willing to kind of try, fail, and learn from it and solve it, we are adding value. And when you hear something like that, it may sound like, yeah, obviously, like duh, like yeah, solve problems, then you are valuable. The challenge seems to me is it's like kind of we've all heard the if all you have is a hammer line, right? Like the problem is a lot of times we lead with the solution rather than really trying to understand the problem. As an institution, as departments, as faculty community, as individual faculty, I catch myself doing this a lot. So this is not just it's related to confirmation bias in some way, that we are more likely to go to our comfort zone of like, here is the solution that I would like to do because here is the course I already have, or the content I already have, or like kind of the approach I've already have, and we tend to try to redefine the problem to fit the solution rather than staying really rigorous and kind of relentless about understanding the problem and trying out solutions to kind of address the problem in front of us. And if there is one thing I would say, like the team, and again, like I would very much credit Leslie and Joe, and like we have had various other team members who have been part of the team, and there are others who work with us on CTI. That is something we have done somewhat better, at least, right? Like relatively well, if not like at least somewhat better, in terms of really trying to understand the problem and not being biased by your comfort zone of like what solutions you want to kind of run with. And if more higher education kind of moved in that direction, I feel like that that perception will start changing, that like we are really kind of trying to understand the problem rather than saying like, here is what I know how to do, and let's use this as a solution. I know that might sound a little abstract, but that seems like is the kind of the core thing that I have seen in my experience being in higher ed all this time.
What I'm hearing is, of course, higher education has value, but if we really, really want to get to the core of the problem, then we really have to understand what our students need. And Noe mentioned structure, discipline, mentorship, like you really, and Benito, connecting with parents. So really understanding what is it that your community needs, what is it that your students need, and ensuring that that is in place and that infrastructure is well thought out and implemented in order for you to get the true results that you want to get, right? It's not enough to just provide education. It's critical to really think about all of these nuanced elements that need to be in place. And, I really appreciate what you mentioned, Vanya, in terms of not talking to the community, but really being a part of the community and collaborating with the community. I think that that's really, really critical. I do know that the CSN3 program has evolved throughout the years and that today it looks a little bit different. So if you wouldn't mind describing, where's CSN3 today and where do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I will be happy to tackle that one. Before I kind of describe the three phases, I want to just mention that identifying the three phases is only possible in retrospect, if that makes sense. So from where we sit today, we can look back at the program at the start, 15 years ago, and sort of see that there were these three distinct sort of phases that we've gone through. But by no means at the beginning did we have like a master plan where we were thinking, oh, we're going to implement these three phases. So I kind of want to make sure that's clear. But yeah, so the three phases, CSN3, which is what we've talked about significantly here today, is this high touch, in-person program. Students are pursuing a bachelor's degree in 3 years. And so we really were all in on that, making that work, making sure students made it from high school into college and then out on the other side with an internship or a job placement. And over the years of doing that and building this program, we had a lot of success. We had students, I think we averaged a 75% graduation rate. Our transfer rate from Hartnell to CSU Monterey Bay was like in the 85% year over year. We were moving students from community college to university, which is a very high number for that. Job placement rates were high. Internship placement rates were high. And after 4 or 5 years of building this program and feeling like we had something really solid, we really started thinking about how can we bring this to more people? How can we make sure more students have the opportunity to participate in something like this? And so we started to think about replication. Can we identify other colleges that would be interested in doing something like this? And so I'll call this replication phase 2. And we were really fortunate to identify some fantastic partners at El Camino College and CSU Dominguez Hills in the LA area. And we worked with their teams there to implement very similar cohort style programs between El Camino College and CSU DH. And we wrote an NSF grant that supported that work for about 5 to 7 years. And that was a wonderful learning opportunity. We really dug in with the team in Southern California and had an opportunity to learn a lot about what it would take, what it takes to replicate, how students from different places and different backgrounds can sort of benefit from the resources we had developed with CSN3. And the timing also then of that replication effort was aligned with COVID and the shutdowns from COVID. And so taking these high touch in-person programs and now having schools shut down and students not be able to come to campus really sort of threw a wrench into what we were doing. It was like, oh my goodness, how are we going to continue to serve these students, continue to offer these services, but now online? And so that is sort of I won't say it's the like complete reason for phase 3, but it was somewhat of the impetus for phase 3. This motivation to take everything we were doing and make sure students were still having access to internships, still getting to work in community with each other, and take all of that and move it online. And so phase 3, I think I'll kind of describe as our scaling effort. And that's where we are right now. Our official name is the Computing Talent Initiative. And so the Computing Talent Initiative's purpose and goal is to really take those lessons we learned over the years in CSN3 and in the replication effort with El Camino and CSU Dominguez Hills and see if we can open that up. So we moved all of a significant amount of our content online for the cohort students at the time. But as we did that, we realized we can open this up to students anywhere in the state of California. And so we started to do that. We started to invite students in from community colleges, CSUs, really any student studying computer science in the state of California is welcome to come participate in these online support activities that we offer today as the Computing Talent Initiative.
I love that because I have to say, I have to give you all a lot of credit for really thinking students first. Like, first and foremost, how can we get this in the hands of more students, whether there are students or whether they're not? And how can we support other institutions? Perhaps not replicating, because I think it's impossible to like fully replicate to a different student body or, different students that have unique needs, but that you really are like sharing the wealth and that you are doing this, to really support students across the state. So lots of kudos to you and the team for all the hard work that you're doing on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's what has always been our mission is to serve students.
What do you think has been like the common thread that has connected all 3 phases?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one I'm actually pretty excited to answer. Our team every couple months or even years sometimes has the opportunity to go back, or we need to go back and look through like old presentations we've done or old papers we've written, which is always a fun experience. It's like pulling out, the box from the attic and kind of going back and revisiting your past. And we are so refreshed and reinvigorated because time after time, when we go back and look at our mission statement in all of these documents over the years, it has remained so solid. So since 2008, we really think about how we can take more students from more diverse backgrounds and make sure they are connected to more opportunities and have clear pathways into the tech workforce. And so that really has remained just steady in each one of those phases. When you think about CSN3, that's what we were doing. The replication programs, trying to get more students. And now at this bigger scale, the focus still is really on taking those students from point A where they are to point B. And so I'm very proud to say that has remained constant throughout all 3 phases.
Actually, I have a second follow-up question. And that is, do you have an idea of how many students across the state you're serving now with the Computing Talent Initiative, and perhaps how many schools are involved?
For sure. Absolutely. So if we think about CTI as sort of officially starting in 2021 and offering these programs at scale across the state, we intake anywhere from 4 to 5 to even maybe 600 students each year. Some of them stay with us longer than others, but so in the thousands of students we're serving, and they are coming from a wide variety of colleges in California. So we put a heavy emphasis on recruiting from community colleges. We've got students from probably in the 70s, maybe 75 community colleges represented. We've had students from all of the CSUs and from all of the UCs who have participated in our program. And then we'll have a handful of students from private colleges or other colleges. And then another interesting, or I think important statistic that speaks to who we are trying to be available to and to serve is we have 56% of our students are first generation students. So we really want to be a bridge, solve a need for students that are at community colleges and regional public universities, and make sure that they are being connected to the tech workforce.
Why is that so important?
I think as we look at it, we talk about it all the time. There are plenty of students who will make their way to the tech workforce on their own. I mean, not on their own, but their circumstances are such that they don't need us. They don't need additional support. They're finding their pathway, maybe based on the college that they're going to, already has like a deep connection with the tech industry. And so recruiters are coming to their college and they're meeting who they need to meet and all of that. I think just by virtue of how many students are served in the California community college system, in the California regional public university system, it's just not possible for industry to have one-on-one relationships with every single one of those entities. And so if CTI can sort of be that common place where industry can come to find talent, and talent from all of these different colleges can come to find industry, that really is sensible, I think, but inspiring and an exciting idea that we're trying to build.
Thank you. Like I said at the beginning, I have admired this program for many years. Now that admiration has grown exponentially after this conversation, and just my deepest respect to all of you for the work that you're doing. So what's next for the Computing Talent Initiative?
So we've always tried understanding the problem in front of us and try to develop solutions that can addresses the problem. And the big thing obviously nowadays is about like artificial intelligence and its impact on education. And I think one thing we are noticing is that there is two parts to the challenge. One is how students are learning. What is the availability of AI doing to how students are learning? But there is also another question, which is what should students be learning? That is also being challenged, and sometimes in the conversation around AI's impact on education, the second question is assumed to be like, we already know what they are supposed to learn. We have always kind of developed curriculum and had learning requirements, and that's the same thing. It's just we need to think about how AI is impacting how students are learning. And we think that's not necessarily a complete picture. We need to actually address both of those questions, like how students are learning and what do they have to learn to be competitive and prepared to add value, to bring that human value on top of what AI can do. And that requires us to also think about what students need to learn. And those are the challenges, right? Those two questions are the challenges we need to address. But there's also a real tremendous opportunity AI brings in terms of students' ability to empower students with more agency, right? So we can do more personalized learning experiences. Like there is more topics and areas that students can cover with the agency that these technologies are providing. So what we are trying to look at right now, and we have done some, working with students, talking to students, and trying out curriculum, we are thinking about addressing both of those questions, taking advantage of the opportunities that AI brings into the picture. So we are very much looking at the next 2 to 5 years as how we adapt to help students become more self-directed, more adaptive professionals who can navigate the changes that are coming up because of AI, but also have real understanding of the value they will still continue to bring in this situation. So that's the main focus that we anticipate going forward.
We are at the end of this episode. I want to thank all of you for joining us today at Telling Our Story. This has been such an incredible, such an insightful and wonderful conversation. I'm really excited to bring this program out into the world and sharing it with our audiences, which I know are going to take so much from it. And I think just to wrap up, I would like to ask our guests if there are any final thoughts from any of you.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity of profiling this integral and amazing program and the relationships that Cal State Monterey Bay has with our community colleges, especially Hartnell. I think that the program profiled what we really are working and we talk about, changing lives, ensuring that our students have the opportunity and moving people forward. So thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you tremendously for hosting us. Listening to Benito, listening to Noe, reliving and rethinking through these things. Like, I already have a list of things I want to go through. Do we still connect with parents in the same way? Do we build senses of community in this online environment? We are educators and we're interested in learning from a student perspective, but we also are very interested in learning how to do what we're doing better. And nothing helps us do that more than hearing from the people who we're serving. And so, for what it's worth, that was something that came out of this for me that I will thank you for forever. So thank you.
Thanks, of course. Like this was a really interesting opportunity. It allowed us to reflect on our work and how we have evolved. And listening to alum is the best part of this job. I always appreciate listening to students who've been through our program.
Thank you, Leti. As I was listening to everybody in the podcast today, I was also reliving the moments, and I couldn't help but smile. It was such a positive experience. My life has changed so much because of the education that I got. It would take me hours to continue talking about all the positive experiences that I have lived through this program, my time at CSUMB, Hartnell College. But in one word, grateful. That's what I feel right now.
Yeah, I want to say thank you. This was a really pleasant experience, and it was, for me, I feel even more appreciative for the Season 3 program, hearing from Sathya to Leslie and Dr. Vanya, like talking about everything that it took, right, to make it possible. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort. So I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful that they went through all of that to build a net to trap me in and make sure that I graduated with my bachelor. So thank you for this experience, Leti.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all mine. This has been the Ask You Telling Our Story podcast. As we continue this series, we will share more stories from Ask You and its members who have taken bold steps to successfully support underserved students and their communities. Please get the word out about this important work by sharing this podcast with colleagues, teachers, students, family, and friends. It's available on Spotify, Apple, and many other podcast platforms. If you are an Ask You member with a promising practice you wish to share, please visit us at askyoutellingourstory.org. Thank you for listening. Until next time.